In a world where justice is shrouded in shadows, Sarah, the passionate lawyer, and Teddy, the undercover ace, fight for an innocent life on death row. What secrets will they uncover? Will they bring light to the darkness? Dive into Innocence on Death Row, Unraveling Missouri's Justice. Now, as we prepare to dive into our story, make sure you're comfortable. Are you ready? It's story time. In the quiet repose of Theodore Teddy Marlowe's modest home, early sunlight danced around the room. It gleamed off the faded pages of countless detective novels lining the old wooden shelves, casting a golden hue on the scattered case files. Teddy, a seasoned detective on the brink of retirement, savored his morning coffee, each sip a testament to years of routine. His gaze lingered on a worn-out photograph of his younger self, the green eyes still shining with a stubborn resolve that time had not managed to dull. The corners of his lips twitched into a smile. It was a somewhat melancholic expression, a grudging concession to the years of experiences etched onto his features. The rustling of paper snapped him out of his reverie. The morning post had arrived. Among the usual bills and junk mail, an envelope bearing the emblem of a reputable law firm stood out. His curiosity piqued. He carefully slid open the envelope. The letter inside was from Sarah Bannister, a name he didn't recognize, but the case she wrote about sent a chill down his spine. A specter from his past had emerged, and it wasn't ready to rest. The man Teddy had failed to exonerate years ago now languished on death row. The words from the letter echoed in the room, their accusation lingering in the silent air. Innocence on death row. A phrase, a plea, a promise of a mystery unsolved. Across town, in a bustling law office, Sarah Bannister, an ambitious young lawyer, hunched over a pile of legal documents. Her office, a chaotic harmony of worn-out law books and case files, reflected her relentless pursuit of justice. As the fresh aroma of her black coffee filled the air, Sarah traced the outline of the old case file with her fingers. Her heart pounded against her ribs, a reminder of the gargantuan task that lay ahead. Her journey into this labyrinth of legal intricacies was no more than a week old. It was during a routine audit of closed cases that she had stumbled upon the file that bore Teddy Marlowe's name. The more she delved into it, the stronger her conviction grew that they had condemned an innocent man. Feeling the weight of her responsibility, she had penned the letter to Teddy. Despite being a stranger, she hoped his renowned acumen and experience would guide her through the murky waters of this ominous case. Her thoughts were interrupted by her secretary's voice, breaking through the intercom. She was needed elsewhere, another case demanding her attention. Yet her mind stayed anchored to the man on death row and Teddy Marlowe. It was a dichotomy that reflected her world, the daily grind of law versus the lure of justice. The decision to visit the prison came to Teddy during a restless night. He could still remember the convoluted maze of the case, its details etched into his mind like an old, haunting melody. The cold iron gates of the prison loomed over him, a monolith of despair and lost hopes. The man he was about to meet was a living testament to his own perceived failure. He steeled himself as he walked through the echoing halls, the reality of his decisions settling heavy on his shoulders. In the sterile white visiting room, Teddy met the man whose life hung in the balance. The years in prison had not been kind to him, but his eyes held a spark that belied his weary exterior. Despite the somber setting, a sense of resolve filled the room. "I didn't do it, Detective Marlowe," he insisted, his voice a hoarse whisper carrying the burden of 1,000 untold stories. His eyes, filled with desperation and conviction, locked onto Teddy's. It was a gaze Teddy had seen before, a gaze that had once kept him awake on countless nights. The echoes of the man's insistence hung in the air long after the meeting ended, a silent appeal that nudged at the corner of Teddy's mind. As he stepped out of the cold confines of the prison, the cool evening breeze brushed against his face, a stark contrast to the stifling atmosphere inside. Teddy gazed at the sinking sun, its crimson glow painting the horizon, symbolic of a day ending and a mystery unfolding. He couldn't shake off the man's words, the conviction in his eyes, or the gnawing doubt that settled within his own heart. He realized then that his retirement was going to have to wait. A ghost from his past had called, and he had a mystery to unravel. Sarah's office was bathed in the soft light of the dying day when the phone rang. She recognized Teddy's number instantly, her heart fluttering with a mix of hope and anxiety. His words echoed in her ears, punctuated by thoughtful pauses, and despite the brevity of the conversation, Sarah could sense the seeds of doubt had been planted in Teddy's mind. In the solitude of her office, she contemplated Teddy's involvement. He had been a legend in his heyday, a beacon of justice. Now, it seemed, they were bound together by a shared conviction to right a potential wrong. The following morning, Sarah and Teddy found themselves seated across a table laden with case files, stacks of witness testimonies, and trial transcripts. The evidence from the original case spread before them like a jigsaw puzzle. The conversation was a dance of intellect and intuition, punctuated by moments of revelation and doubt. The room was thick with tension as they delved into the intricacies of the case, each revelation opening the door to new possibilities and uncertainties. Teddy, with the worn photograph of the crime scene in hand, decided to revisit the site. The dilapidated building, now a forgotten monument of the past, stood as a silent testament to the unspeakable acts committed within its walls. With a detective's keen eye, he traced the trails of a story that was told and retold, dissecting every detail, every inconsistency that may have been overlooked. Parallel to Teddy's on-ground exploration, Sarah was engrossed in the realm of law. She dissected courtroom proceedings, tore apart defense strategies, and evaluated the prosecution's arguments. Her desk was a battlefield of paper and ink, where legal jargon met relentless determination. With every lead she pursued, she felt as if she were navigating a maze with no clear end in sight. As the day gave way to a starlit night, Teddy found himself standing before a witness from the past. The woman, her features weathered by time and remorse, was a living archive of the fateful night. Her account of the events, now colored by years and clouded by regret, hinted at a potential discrepancy. A lead, perhaps disregarded as insignificant in the original investigation, now shone under Teddy's discerning scrutiny. Teddy's findings, wrapped in the enigma of the past, needed to be shared. He dialed Sarah, the numbers glowing in the quiet of the night. His voice, measured and steady, relayed his discovery. A potential breakthrough, or a road leading to another dead end, only time would tell. Sarah, surrounded by her fortress of legal papers, listened to Teddy's account. The urgency in his voice resonated with her. The prospect of a new lead ignited a spark of hope within her. This case, they both knew, was a labyrinth that had just revealed a new, winding path. Their conversation, under the blanket of the starlit sky, was a testament to their shared commitment. The journey they had embarked on was treacherous, shadowed by the impending execution date. But the resolve in their voices was stronger than the looming darkness. As the call ended, both were left contemplating the echo of their late-night conversation. The conviction in their hearts was a beacon in the abyss of uncertainty. This case, this man's life, was more than just a professional endeavor. It was a pursuit of justice that bound them together. They were two guardians of truth, ready to challenge the verdict of the past and unlock the shackles of a possible injustice. As Teddy delved deeper into the past, he found himself standing at the thresholds of witnesses, their faces etched with lines of age and burdened by years of unspoken guilt. His inquiries were met with a silent war between the obligation to truth and the fear of retribution. Their shared recollections painted a haunting portrait of a night that was forever etched into their lives and of a justice that seemed mired in doubt. Meanwhile, Sarah stood in the vast, marble-lined halls of the courthouse, her voice echoing against the tall arches, piercing through the unyielding silence. Her pleas for a retrial were met with stubborn resistance. Undeterred, she pushed against the inertia, her words, imbued with passion and determination, resonating within the grandeur of the Justice Hall. In the solitude of his study, Teddy found himself wrestling with his thoughts, his past failures crowding his mind, the specter of his past blunders seeming to loom over his present quest. Yet, there was a glimmer, a faint yet persistent light that guided him through the labyrinth of uncertainties. This light led him to the discovery of a concealed truth, an unopened envelope of evidence, untouched by the scrutiny of the court. His heart pounded against his chest as he uncovered its contents. The evidence within cast a new light on the case, a fresh perspective that tugged at the very fabric of the narrative they had been led to believe. Back in her citadel of law and order, Sarah tasted a sweet victory. Her relentless pursuit had borne fruit. The court granted a reevaluation of select aspects of the case. It was a small win, yet a significant one. It marked the first step in her uphill battle against a system that seemed steeped in stubborn complacency. As they traversed deeper into the case, they found themselves caught in a web of deceit. The closer they came to the truth, the more convoluted the narrative seemed. Yet, with each twisted thread they unraveled, their resolve to uncover the truth was only strengthened. The ghost of an innocent man on death row haunted their quest, driving them to fight against the odds. Under the velvet blanket of the night, their voices intertwined once again over a call. They shared their victories, their breakthroughs, and their fears. The looming execution date injected an urgency into their conversation. The magnitude of their task lay bare before them, yet their conviction shone brighter than the most radiant star in the night sky. As the call ended, they were left in the silence of their separate worlds, the echo of their conversation lingering between them. They were two solitary figures in their respective battles, yet bound together in their pursuit of justice. As the shadows of deceit loomed around them, their resolve to fight against the odds was cemented further. The road to justice was long and winding, but their shared commitment was an unyielding beacon illuminating their path. When Teddy revealed the concealed evidence to Sarah, it sent a ripple through the narrative of the case. The photograph, held aloft between them, seemed to morph into a tantalizing question mark, casting a spectral shadow on their understanding of the crime. Yet, their fervor met a wall of resistance when they presented it to the prosecution. The subsequent dispute over the evidence unveiled the formidable hurdles ahead, a stark reminder of the monolith they were attempting to crumble. The skepticism aimed at their efforts was like a chilling gust of wind, threatening to extinguish the flame of their resolve. In the high-ceilinged courtrooms, Sarah found herself embroiled in a whirlpool of rebuttals and refutations. Her plea for a reconsideration of the evidence was met with a cold, dismissive reception. Within her, a storm of doubts raged, battering her confidence, but failing to capsize the ship of her conviction. In contrast, Teddy's path led him to the darker underbelly of the city, to the people and places the law seldom reached. His mission took on an undercover tone as he navigated through the murky layers of hearsay and speculation. His piercing gaze observed the subtlest details, each potential clue gleaned from the shadows, adding another piece to the puzzle. In this shadowy realm, Teddy discovered allies in the most unexpected places. From retired police officers bearing the burden of secrets to former witnesses racked with guilt, each offered pieces to the mosaic of truth they were painstakingly creating. Their personal narratives and their connection to the case enriched the story, infusing it with a sense of palpable urgency. In their shared mission, Teddy and Sarah stumbled upon a clue that seemed inconspicuous but bore significant implications. A forgotten police report, overlooked during the initial trial, hinted at an overlooked suspect. This newfound detail reinforced their belief in their client's innocence, like a gust of wind strengthening the sail of their endeavor. As night descended, Sarah and Teddy once again found solace in their late-night conversations. Despite the setbacks, their shared resolution was a beacon in the night, guiding them through the storm of opposition. As their voices faded into the silence, their determination was etched into the canvas of the night, an indomitable testament to their pursuit of justice. And so, they found themselves standing at the precipice of a daunting journey, their resolve the only weapon against the imposing fortress of deception. But they were unyielding, their belief in their cause a sturdy anchor against the turbulent tide of adversities. The newly discovered clue took Teddy and Sarah on a diverging path in their investigation, like a faint trail leading into uncharted territory. The paper trail became a labyrinth, each document revealing a new facet of the case that further blurred the line between the innocent and the guilty. This pursuit of truth, however, was met with an unforeseen obstacle within the confines of her own law firm. Sarah found herself under the scrutiny of her seniors, her relentless pursuit of the case regarded with skepticism and consternation. Yet, in the face of this resistance, she stood firm, like a solitary tree weathering a tempest. Meanwhile, Teddy followed a different trail, one that led him to a forgotten character from the original case. The unassuming figure, initially dismissed as insignificant, now seemed like a piece in a jigsaw puzzle that had been overlooked. His investigation stirred the waters of the case, hinting at unseen depths beneath the surface. Despite the obstacles within her firm, Sarah forged ahead, her determination culminating in a significant legal victory. As the gavel echoed through the courtroom, declaring the admission of new evidence, it was as if a ray of sunlight had pierced through the looming clouds of the case. But the light also illuminated the ambiguities and uncertainties they had not seen before. As Teddy and Sarah delved deeper into the case, they found their initial understanding of the events beginning to unravel. Doubts started to seep in, casting long shadows on their path, a testament to the complexity of the truth they sought. The case, however, was not just a professional endeavor. The investigation left an indelible mark on their personal lives as well. Sarah's relationships were strained, and Teddy's evenings became an endless review of case files. The emotional toll was a palpable presence, a silent companion to their late-night discussions. Yet, even as they navigated this tumultuous sea, their resolve did not falter. Their late-night conversation, conducted in hushed whispers and fervent exclamations, cemented their determination. Even as the shadows of doubt loomed larger, their shared resolve shone brighter. As the night deepened and the city's heartbeat slowed, Sarah and Teddy sat in silent accord, their spirits intertwined in their quest. Their pursuit was not just about an individual on death row, it was a fight for justice, a beacon against the face of overwhelming odds. Teddy and Sarah stood at the precipice of understanding, their minds buzzing with the complexities of the puzzle they had painstakingly assembled. Their eyes scanned each piece of evidence, each one a testament to the winding road they had traveled in their pursuit of truth. Then, like a sudden bolt of lightning illuminating the stormy night, they found it, the pivotal piece. A previously overlooked connection, the final piece of the puzzle that dramatically transformed their perception of the case. This revelation was a climactic moment, a breakthrough sending waves of realization through the room. Back in the court, Sarah, armed with the newfound evidence, stood her ground. The courtroom fell silent as she presented her arguments, her voice echoing through the marble hall, weaving a compelling narrative of justice long overdue. Each word was a blow against the wall of skepticism she had faced in her pursuit. Parallel to her, Teddy navigated the city's underbelly for one last undercover operation. The dimly lit alleyways, the hushed whispers, and the looming sense of danger, all were a testament to the courage that defined his part of the journey. Then came the moment that held their breaths and the court's attention, the verdict. The judge's gavel came down, its echo drowned in the tension that hung heavy in the air. When the verdict was announced, it was as if time itself had held its breath. The innocent was no longer on death row. Justice had finally been served. That moment of triumph, of victory against the massive odds, brought a rush of emotional release for both Sarah and Teddy. The strain of their journey, the late-night discussions, the moments of despair, and the unwavering resolve all culminated in a cathartic crescendo. As the dust settled on their victory, Teddy and Sarah found themselves reflecting on the journey they had embarked on. The silent cityscape outside their window bore witness to their final late-night conversation, their voices a soft murmur against the quiet backdrop. They spoke of justice, of the fight they had put up, and the ripples their victory would create. Sarah glanced at Teddy, a soft smile curving her lips. "We did it, didn't we?" Her voice was barely a whisper, a quiet acknowledgement of their shared victory. Teddy nodded, his eyes reflecting the city lights and the triumph that came with their arduous pursuit of truth. As the night deepened, their shared silence spoke volumes of the journey they had embarked upon. Their fight was not just for an innocent man on death row, but for every truth that remained hidden, for justice that was yet to be served. The night echoed their resolve, the cityscape an open canvas for their future endeavors. Their journey was far from over, but for now, they had shifted the scales of justice. Their battle was a testament to the unseen heroes within the law's labyrinth, continually fighting to illuminate the corners where truth lay hidden. As our story comes to a close, let the lull of this soothing ambiance continue to cradle you further into your journey of calmness and rest. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your relaxation and sleep routine tonight. Remember, each day brings a new story, and each night brings a fresh chance to regenerate, to dream, and to become more of who you are. As this background sound lulls you further into sleep, I hope you find peace, comfort, and a well-deserved rest. Good night, dear listener. Until our next story, sleep well and dream beautifully.